Right, let's see what's happening on the roads now in South Africa. And our first stop is the Bara Taxi Rank. This is where Chriselda Lewis is monitoring the situation for us. Chriselda, good morning to you. So we know what the taxi industry have said they're going to do this morning. 100% capacity, interprovincial travel. What are things looking like there?
Well, a very good morning to you, Leanne. Well, back to business as usual for the taxis around the country this morning. Let me just stand out of shot, Leanne, and show you that quite early this morning, of course, following that decision that you spoke about, that was announced by the South African National Taxi Council, as well as the National Taxi Alliance yesterday. You know what they usually say, it's 4-4 masihlalisane. So the taxis themselves are full to the brim this morning, loading at 100% capacity, following that announcement by Santaco and the NTA yesterday, indicating, of course, that this decision was taken after multiple meetings had been cancelled by the Transport Minister, Chriselda Lewis. So this is the scene that you're going to see throughout the country this morning, Leanne, where initially and under lockdown level 3 regulations, as stipulated by government, the taxis are only allowed to carry 70%. But Santaco and NTA saying that they have basically do not have hope in continuing negotiations with the Transport Minister, Chriselda Lewis. You would know that there's a number of meetings that had been scheduled, including yesterday, and basically the transport sector saying that it can no longer wait, and it feels that the Transport Ministry had not negotiated in good faith. What the taxi associations are saying at this point is that there are three issues, Leanne. One, of course, relating to loading 100% capacity. You'd recall, of course, there have been ongoing talks between the taxi industry and the Transport Minister. So the Transport Minister had indicated to the taxi industry that he was going to have a conversation with the National Coronavirus Council to take their issue of wanting to load 100% capacity once again. So I understand that according to the Transport Department, they're expecting some kind of feedback tomorrow, which is Tuesday, pertaining to that, because as I recall, the Transport Minister had indicated he could not take the decision by himself. He needed to consult with the National Coronavirus Council to understand what the health implications would be should South Africa decide to give the taxi industry a go-ahead to load 100% capacity. So the taxi industry says it's been trying to negotiate with the Transport Minister for a number of days now. In fact, yesterday, we heard the president of Santaco, Philip Taibosh, indicate that the minister had postponed a meeting with them 4 times. And they're basically saying they have not had feel they've had a sufficient opportunity. The minister does not want to listen to them, according to what they're saying. So they've decided now, despite, Leanne, the numbers that you have just read now, pertaining to the escalating numbers of infections and deaths are related to the coronavirus that is affecting South Africa, the taxi industry says it has no choice but to continue on this particular point. And this is one of the taxis you see now. Each of these completely full to the brim. And if I could just see there next to one of these areas, it is almost all of these passengers, Leanne, have masks on. The taxi industry also indicating, when I asked them a question yesterday about how they were going to follow social distancing and ensure that all their passengers were safe, the taxi industry indicating that everyone who was going to get into a taxi was going to be sanitized. It was compulsory for all of the passengers to wear their masks. But as you can see here, there is no sanitizing that is taking place. However, the passengers themselves do have masks on. And I think of particular concern at this stage is that, as the rules, Leanne, stipulate that under level lockdown 3, the taxis are only supposed to operate at 70% capacity. This brings in law enforcement agencies. The taxi industry also warning yesterday that if their taxis are impounded for what certainly is breaking the law, because the lockdown level 3 regulations stipulate that this behind me cannot happen, then the taxi industry says it will bring the taxi industry in this country to a standstill. Let me see if I can't speak to one of the passengers here. It keeps moving from this direction. Let me see if I can't speak to one of them. I'm going to ask my colleague Tulo Munare. Sanbonan, ninjani, khona. Sisingicela ukukhuluma nawe siswile nje ukuthi bhuti sorry angisakuboni phela manje nale mask oyigqokile usafe kodwa ke ku right bhuti wami kuthiwa namhlanje amateksi azawulayisha nje icapacity 100%. Nisizwa kanjani awoyiki?
Hayi ngiyaqala ukuyizwa lento mina bengingazi mina. Yeah, so hayi babasho kanjalo nathi ayikho into esizoyisho esizoyenza. Yeah.
Nijahulu emsebenzini.
Ayiwo.
All right. Siyabonga kakhulu bhuti wami. Just one of the passengers there, Leanne, indicating that if they're hearing for the first time this morning that taxis will be loading at 100% capacity, and he's just basically gotten into the taxi. He's on his way to work, and I guess that's going to be the sentiment shared by many of these commuters who, at this particular point, are just in a hurry to simply get to work.
Right, that's Chriselda, as you heard, at the Bara Taxi Rank, giving us an understanding of what's going on there. So.